Hello, my name is Orla. Welcome back to my channel. In this channel I read short stories for children and adults who are interested in them. In today's video I'll be reading another story from this great book, Girls Who Slay Monsters, Daring Tales of Ireland's Forgotten Goddesses, written by Ellen Ryan and illustrated by Shona, Shirley, MacDonald. So get cozy, cuddle down. In this video I'll be reading about the Cailleach. That's that lady there. She's an environmentalist and pro-aging inspiration. And you'll see why when I read this one. Okay. The Cailleach was a bright-eyed, buxom and fun-loving goddess who grew up in the outer world, land of the young. It was a realm of eternal spring without sickness or death, where feathered trout flew over warm rivers and stallions galloped through butter-coloured blossom fields. To Cailleach, this was very dull. Nothing ever aged there, so nothing changed either. Cailleach longed for new experiences and excitement, so she ran away to the mortal world, and the first place she reached was the rocky mountain range and rough seas of Cork's Beara Peninsula in Ireland. Mortals gaped in awe to see such a mysterious girl walking among their tribe, with bright green eyes and soft cheeks the colour of foxgloves. The local Dovna tribe invited her to so many feasts that she wore out her silver sandals dancing with the boys, and they competed to bring her tasty foods of seaweed and wild garlic. This place is so exciting, she thought. I might live here forever. Within a few years, Cailleach married a High King of Ireland and moved to his royal kingdom in Uisneach, in the centre of Ireland. Here she had 10 children. Raising them was chaotic and exhausting, though full of fun. But mortal lives passed by in a flash. Soon the children grew up and left home to start families of their own. And not long after they were gone, Cailleach's beloved husband was struck down with a wasting sickness and had little time left to live. Seeing her family grow and change made the goddess feel left behind. She wished she could turn back time so her husband and children were young again. As an immortal, Cailleach would live to see them die, which was just too much to bear. So she would have to return to the outer world. Cailleach went to her husband's sickbed and kissed his frail hand. "I must leave soon," she whispered as he slept, "before the rest of our people discover that I cannot age." Her husband slowly opened his eyes and looked kindly at her. "But you have aged," he told her, "and so beautifully, my love." Confused, Cailleach ran to a nearby lake and stared into its glassy surface, seeing her reflection for the first time in many years. Her once full cheeks were yellowed and papery thin. She had streaks of grey in her chestnut hair, and there were deep lines around her eyes and her mouth. It was clear to the goddess that she must have a magical power. Unlike other immortal gods, she could age and experience each stage of life. Never happier, Cailleach remained in the mortal world and nursed her husband until his death. She helped her eldest son learn to rule his father's kingdom and guided the rest of the children as they reared their new families. In the blink of an immortal eye, she grew into a very old woman, loved and adored by her grandchildren across the country. By now, Cailleach had enjoyed all ages of human life. So when she woke one morning to hear the sea, despite living in the centre of Ireland, she knew in her heart that the Beara coast was calling her home to die, and she was ready. After a week's trekking, bent low over her walking stick, the elderly goddess stood on the top of the Beara cliffs and looked down to the crashing waves. The wind blasted over the mighty mountains and whistled against the rocks in a sad lament, as if they were saying goodbye. She had missed this wild place and spoke to it now like an old friend. I had my day with kings, drinking mead and wine. I return to you now, happy to die. Then she jumped. Her frail body soared off the cliff like a graceful bird in flight. When she plunged into the freezing water, she surrendered herself entirely, dropping like a stone. Under the waves, the sea shook her this way and that, but instead of the cold hand of death, Cailleach felt warm life fizzing through her veins. She was somehow absorbing the sea's power and feeling herself regenerate. Cailleach was becoming young again. By the time her new strong body bobbed up to the surface and she had pulled herself to the shore, she was as youthful and beautiful as when she had first arrived from the outer world. For a long time the young Cailleach missed her family, but she couldn't return to them. It would be too strange and unsettling. Besides, though her help and support over the years, they were all doing perfectly well on their own. So instead, she married again and again. She married 7 new men over 7 lives. But growing old eventually changed Cailleach. After 7 marriages, she no longer sought excitement in handsome kings. Parties and romances were fleeting to her, and all lives came to an end. Only one thing was constant, and that was nature. Cailleach developed a strong connection to the mountains and the sea, the only friends who never left her. So, in her 8th life, the goddess wandered through Ireland, Scotland, and the Isle of Man, casting aside fine clothes and wearing instead rough smocks to live with seabirds in caves along the coastlines. And the longer she spent in nature, the more she noticed all its detail. The older she aged in each lifetime, the wiser she became. By her 9th life, Cailleach had learned to predict when it was going to rain. By her 10th life, she had discovered hidden properties in many plants and used them to heal mortals and animals. During her 11th life, spent on the Isle of Man, she discovered she could shapeshift. Local mortals saw her gliding across the sky as a giant bird, as she welcomed the first day of spring, or roaming across the land as an 8-legged dog. And by her 12th life, spent in Scotland, she became yet more powerful when she learned to command and control nature. The goddess conjured sleet and snow to fall any time she liked. She beckoned beating rain from the clouds, driving torrents down mountainsides to shape the landscape, and creating many lakes and rivers. Very powerful woman. After every 3 lives or so, Cailleach returned to her beloved Beara Peninsula. There she learned to become so still in the present moment that she transformed into a rock, becoming part of the very landscape itself. But she always returned to her goddess form in winter to dance among the rough waves and feel the howling salty wind against her skin. Today, dozens of nature sites dotted all over Ireland, the Isle of Man and Scotland are named after the Cailleach and thought to be her creations, the goddess who was mother to many and lifelong lover of one, the natural world. She was one powerful lady. The end. That was from Girls Who Slay Monsters. Until the next one. Bye bye.